Yeah, I think Hannah was meant to, but oh, hello everyone and welcome. Sorry, that was very TV presentery. Hi guys and welcome to our next Green Tech Southwest meetup. As you probably all know, we've got quite a special one for you today. Lots and lots of speakers. Yes, we'll be welcoming and celebrating some of Bristol and Bath's 5 Green Tech Innovators as part of the Bristol Tech Festival 2020. So yeah, lots to offer you today. Some really fantastic talks coming up. So yeah, as if this is your first time in one of our meetups, then I'm Ellen. I'll be introducing myself a bit more further down the line. But yeah, this is just for us all to get settled, to get our cameras working, just get everything you need to do to tuck in, basically. So yeah, we'll be getting started around 12:30. Yeah, we've got some really great talks signed up. Yeah, waiting up for you, basically. So yeah, it'd be great if just to get a bit of a feel for our audience and who we've got with us today. Feel free to comment in the comment section just down the side there. And yeah, basically introduce yourself and let me know what brings you here, what you're looking forward to most, although maybe not most. We want to try and keep it positive. And yeah, then I can sort of read it out and it just gives us that bit more community feel rather than me just jabbering away with my chief plant in the back. So yeah, so like I said, we'll be getting started at around 12:30, just to give everyone time to get started and signed in and everything. If you're new to crowd class, it could be a bit difficult to navigate. So throughout our talks, we'll go through the sort of structure a bit further down the line, but there's all these different tools that you can use within Crowdcast. So it's really good to have a dialogue going in the comment section. If there's anything that you think that people might find useful, or if you've heard of something that one of the speakers is talking about, it's always great to sort of see that back and see what people are making of the event. It just gives it that slightly more personal feel. And then there's also an ask a question section at the bottom, just sort of bottom right. This is really good because at the end, we'll after each sort of segment, or block of speakers, we'll be going through any questions that you guys have got for them. I'll keep an eye on the comment section just in case any questions go up there. But it's really helpful if you pop it in the ask a question section, because then we can just go through that at the end and make sure all your questions get answered. So yeah, that's there. Usually we've got usually what happens in our meetup groups as well is that people are sharing really useful links and slides or resources or anything. So if there's anything that you think the community will benefit from, or that you think is relevant to the talks or whichever, feel free to share those in the comment section as well, because what I do is I collate them at the end and make them all available on our meetup group and a few various links. So don't worry, nothing gets lost in the abyss, but hopefully not. So yeah, we've got not long getting started now. It is also Andy from Karshare's birthday today. Oh no, sorry, it was birthday yesterday. So if we can all wish him a happy birthday when he comes on later, that'd probably freak him out a little bit. So yeah, we're just seeing who we've got turning up today. So yeah. Oops, sorry. So yeah, welcome if anyone has just joined us. I will be the sort of space filler at the beginning. And if you've got any questions or if you aren't able to get on anything, feel free to just ask me, and we can try and get that sorted out for you. And if not, we'll be doing some community 60-second intros as well. So typically these have just been, if there's anything that you're working on or would like to share with the group or the community, we invite you on screen for 60 seconds. And yeah, basically just you can have a little bit of a sales pitch and just let us know what you're doing. This has been really successful for people who have needed support with a project that they're working on, or a second opinion, or it's been really great to see people connect in that way. So if that is something that you'd be interested in, what we do, if you let us know in the comment section, then we can invite you on screen and give you 60 seconds to just promote, basically. But yeah, I just thought I'd give you a bit of a heads up. Hannah will be doing the official sort of welcoming them on, also Mike, but it's always good, I think, to have a little bit of time to think about that if you're anything like me. So yeah, hi Ian, thanks for coming. Nice to see you again. Ian is a regular at our events. So he works for Sky as an embedded software engineer, and I'm interested in this as a nice thing to do. Well, I'm glad you think so. We definitely do. So welcome, Ian. Thanks for taking the time of your lunch for some really fantastic talks. So yeah, we won't be too much longer now. Another thing, we will be having a break in between, so in between our two sections of speakers, or two blocks of speakers, so don't worry if you're running out of snacks or whatever. Great. And yeah, so Hannah will be commenting on various resources as well in our comment section, and links to any other events or anything, so keep an eye on that as well. Welcome to anyone who's just got here. Hi, Elliot. This is Elliot from Ecologi, so he'll be one of the speakers a bit later on. Thanks for joining us, Elliot. Really looking forward to that one. As a lot of you know, or who've been to our meetups before, we to try and offset some of our carbon footprint or carbon emissions by running these meetups, we've actually got our own little forest. Well, not so little forest actually. Now it's grown to I think nearly 500, which is amazing. Trees. So that, but I won't take too much of the talk away. I'll let Elliot sort of lead that one there. But yeah, I think some of you will be familiar with Ecologi for that reason. Oh, thanks for doing these from Ian. That's great. I'm glad you've learned a lot. I've definitely learned a lot. Couldn't have even really anticipated how much engagement this has had. So it's been really, really great for that reason. Perfect. So yeah, not about a minute to go now. I just want to see if there's anyone else coming along, or letting people get settled and getting their sound right, or whatever else needs to come along. And then we've got Ian Cross, another Ian. Hi Ian, thanks for joining. Also a software developer, watching this from Redden, Bristol. Hi Ian. And then we've got Helen as well. Hi Helen, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. Helen is from Realise Product Design. Really looking forward to the talks today. Great, I'm glad to hear it. Thanks for joining, and thanks for introducing yourself. It's just been it's really nice to, obviously no one really anticipated how long we'd be doing these online meetups for. So it's just really nice to be able to sort of get to know people who are joining. We've got some regulars, some newcomers. It's always really good to sort of see what draws people in and what brings you here. Oh, hi Hannah.
Hey Ellen, I'm just gonna get the slides ready, so please carry on with your fantastic radio DJ intros. You're so good at it. Well done.
Yeah, I can always...
get this. Sorry, go on.
No, sorry, I can just imagine some people who have been with us for a while might just put me on mute at this point.
I heard you every time, Ellen. I never want to put you on mute. I think you do a great job.
She has to say that.
I'm here for the Freudian slips, so.
Freudian slips. Oh, don't. My mum always says, "You never think before you speak." It's been something I live by. Perfect.
Cool. Are we happy with the configuration of our faces on the screen just before we get going?
More than happy.
Yeah, cool, because I see us all as three small faces with the slides big, so I think that's good, right?
Yeah,
that's what we were.
Yeah, we have covered our sponsor's logo with our faces, but I think we'll live with that. I'm sorry.
I'll give them a shout out at the end.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, should we get cracking? Because we've got a tight schedule today, haven't we? And lots to get through. So, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today at Green Tech Southwest. We are here to talk about green tech innovators within the Bristol and Bath region, and we have worked, myself, Mike and Ellen, very hard to try and find some really interesting, diverse approaches to tackling the climate change that are happening within our region. So we're really, really looking forward to sharing this with you today. In the interest of keeping things swift, I will move on. So this is us. We are your community organisers, Ellen, myself and Mike, and we'll all just say a super quick hello to you, tell you sort of what we do and where we're from. It's a bit like a talk show or something, isn't it? So Ellen, would you like to kick us off?
Hello, I'm Ellen. I was the crazy person about 10 minutes ago. I am a recruitment consultant at AdLib. I work on the tech team. I've just always been really, really passionate about sustainability and green life hacks. So yeah, it's been good to be able to do this and sort of marry up my job and the passion, I guess.
Cool, thanks Ellen. I'm Hannah Smith. I'm a freelance WordPress developer based here in Bristol. And my interest is really in how environment and digital intersect. And I'm super chuffed to be working with Ellen and Mike on this community and on bringing these events to you. And Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike. I work with Ellen. I sit next to her actually at AdLib. I'm head of tech, and AdLib are a B Corp certified independent and employee-owned recruitment company. We're very passionate about sustainability, not just sort of working with green tech clients, but also ourselves. So we're actually learning a lot from these events, and yeah, just very passionate on sort of seeing what's out there in Bristol and Bath, and helping people kind of come together on projects, really.
Right, so that's us. We are your organisers, hopefully friendly, approachable faces. So let's just tell you a little bit about what we set out to do with this meetup. So what we're trying to do here is create a space to share insight and generate discussion on how tech relates to the environment. So we like to talk about how tech relates positively and negatively, because there is a cost, an environmental cost to tech as well. So we try and provide a balanced viewpoint through inviting lots of interesting and diverse speakers who bring different viewpoints. At the very heart of what we do, and this has been baked in since day one when we set the community up, is that we are trying to create an open and inclusive ethos. So on that note, I would just like to say, wherever you are in the country or the world, wherever you are today, wherever you've joined us from, you are very welcome here. We do have a focus on the southwest of England, but we're not, members are very welcome from anywhere in the world. I'd also just like to say that whatever your knowledge or action relating to the climate crisis, again, you're very welcome. So if you're new to learning about sustainability, we're super stoked to have you here. If you're an old hat with this sort of stuff, then hopefully you might be a speaker and come along and share some of your knowledge with us. Whatever ethnicity you are, whatever gender you are, whether you work in tech or you don't work in tech, you are all very welcome here, and we are really pleased to have you here today. I have put some links to our code of conduct and our group constitution in the comments. In fact, loads of you have been introducing yourself, which is awesome and very much what we love to see. So thank you, and don't stop doing that. But you have to scroll a little bit further up the comments to see the constitution and code of conduct if you wish to read them. So that's a little bit about us and what we do. Let's move on to our community 60-second intros. So what we like to do is, before our events, we like to hear from our community. We love to hear from anybody who's out there who would like to share something. So maybe it's a green tech project, or maybe just a green project with no tech elements, something that you're working on that you'd like to tell us about. Maybe you'd like to do a shout out and request for help or guidance. Or maybe you've come across some knowledge or a resource that you'd like to share with others. So now is your opportunity. It's kind of a bit like if we were all in a room together, you'd sort of stand up from your chair and do a shout out and be like, oh, hi, this is me, this is what I'm doing. We're trying to replicate that here in the online format. So if anybody would like to do a community shout out, please can you comment us now in the comments and tell us that you would, and we will invite you to the screen and give you our platform for 60 seconds. And I know that there were a couple of you that I've been talking to about this today. Okay, so Kate. Cool. All right, so Kate, we're going to invite you to the screen. You should get a little notification popping up on your screen saying, would you like to join us? Click yes. And assuming that you have a strong and stable internet connection, you should appear any second now. Ish. Okay, I can see on my admin screen down here that Kate has accepted and is connecting, so we just need to be patient for her to appear. whilst we're waiting for Kate to join us, I can see that Duncan has said he'd like to do a shout out too. So shall we get Duncan on the screen and get Duncan ready to go? Hello, Kate. Hi, you've joined us. Right,
Hi.
I'm going to stop sharing my slides.
Wanted to make sure everything was absolutely visually perfect. So 60 seconds, I would like to tell all of you about the place where I work, which is Eco Web Hosting. We're a small UK-based hosting company, and we're trying to get a more sustainable internet, but also we understand that price and speed and performance and all of that is also really important, that we want to have a good combination of all of those things together. So what we do is we plant trees for every hosting package that is purchased. Whether you buy the tiny one or a gigantic one, we will plant trees for you. So if you are interested, you can nag me for more information. You can find us online, ecowebhosting.co.uk, and come check us out. We have trees. They're pretty.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kate. I feel like I've met you before. I think I met you at Pixel Pioneers.
Probably. I've been in the web hosting industry for about 6 years, so I went to a lot of events. Sadly, there are no events to go to right now, so that's why I do this.
Excellent. Well, Kate, thank you so much. Thank you for telling us about Eco Web Hosting. Please feel free to drop a link to your website in our chat comments so people can follow up and have a look at what you're doing. Brilliant. Okay, so we have 2 more people who have stuck their hands up and said, hey, I have something that I'd like to share with the community. So Duncan, we are still waiting for you to join us. You should have a little notification coming up on your screen saying, offering you the invite to join us. And Dan Williams as well. We've also sent you an invite. So hopefully you're going to see that coming up on the screen. Duncan, I don't know if you've joined us with Google Chrome or not, but we do find that Chrome, sadly, is the best. Does seem to give the best experience for joining Crowdcast. Dan, we're also waiting on you. I think, excellent. You've appeared. Fantastic.
Hi.
So Dan, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Over to you.
Excellent. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Great stuff. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Williams. I lead a very early stage startup called Measurable Energy. We've created a new system, which is both hardware in the form of smart power sockets and software in the form of some machine learning, which is designed to identify and then simply eliminate wasted energy and greenhouse gas emissions from commercial buildings and from any other type of building. We're looking for pilot buildings at the moment. So if you're interested, please either take a look at our website, which is measurable.energy, or find me on LinkedIn or send me a message. We're also looking for investors and funders. So any pointers or interest in that, again, please get in touch. Thanks.
I was just trying to find my mute button. Dan, thank you so much. I know we've met before. You came along to our networking session, so awesome that you've joined us again today. Thank you for your shout out. Same, obviously, as I said to Kate, please feel free to pop any links to anything relevant to your shout out in our comments, and we'll collate all of those and put them in the meetup comments at the end of today's session. So great, thank you so much. Now, Duncan, we are still trying to get you on the screen. This is always the thing with doing these live events and inviting people. Always risky. Is the tech going to work for us? So whilst we're just waiting for Duncan, fingers crossed we'll get him on the screen in a minute. Is there anybody else that wants to give a shout out? I don't think I've spotted anyone else in the comments. Hey Duncan, you joined us. Well done. Good effort.
Cool. Yeah, I found out that,
isn't it?
yeah, I found out that Chrome wasn't showing the accept or use microphone if it was on my right-hand screen, which is in portrait.
Right.
So good tech problem there.
That's useful for us to know, actually, because we learn about these systems too with every problem that we have. Anyway, I'll shut up. Duncan, thank you so much for joining us. Please, over to you.
Okay, so my non-work climate action group in Winterbourne, we are looking among the many things we try and do. We definitely overstretch ourselves. Is focusing on tree planting next year. We're trying to engage lots of local landowners who've got a bit of space, or maybe they've got like a horse in the field to plant lots of trees. So we've been engaging with a guy that I think quite a few people on here might know, Phil Sturgeon, who is a fairly prolific Twitter user, cyclist across Europe, and he's coming to talk for us next week. So we've pinged it up as an Eventbrite. So if anyone wants to come and join in, he's looking for people with hands to dig stuff. He's looking for people with money to invest, or just people he can share this stuff with. And we're looking to kind of reach out to other local groups who want to do similar things and might want to join in with us as well. I'll put the Eventbrite link in the chat on the right hand side, and I'll drop our Twitter handle in there too. Thank you.
Duncan, expertly done there. Beautiful, nice, succinct 60 seconds. So thank you so much. And kudos to you for all the work that you're doing over in Winterbourne as well. That is just absolutely wonderful. And we love to hear what people are doing to tackle the environmental crisis that we have. So well done. Kudos to you. Bravo.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. So yeah, you mentioned there, stick the stuff in the comments, and that would be great. Okay, cool. So great. So we have our speakers coming up. Woohoo! Back onto the main event. Fantastic. Mike, I'm going to hand over to you in a second. I'm just going to bring up a slide just so everybody can be reminded of the rough order of things today. Mike, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to hand over to you because you're very good at introing all the speakers.
Great stuff. Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, great. Well, as we've sort of mentioned before, we have divided the speakers into two groups. So we'll have a little break in the middle where you can go and grab a sandwich or put the kettle on and come back nice and refreshed. So to start with, we've got Katie and Elliot. Katie's going first, and then we'll have questions for both after Elliot's talk. So just a quick reminder, if you have questions, if you can put them in the Ask a Question section. We'll do our best to go through as many as we can in 10 minutes, and then we'll have a nice break. So thank you both for coming. Really happy to see both of you from sort of Pure Planet and Ecologi, respectively, two amazing businesses we very much have respect for. Yeah, we're really looking forward to your talk. So Katie, you're up first. So Katie is regulatory lead at Pure Planet. And I won't spoil too much of your talk by giving you an intro. So I'm just going to get out the way, and I will maximize you on screen.
Hi everyone, thank you so much, Mike, for that introduction. And hello, yes, I'm Katie speaking from Pure Planet. We are the UK's, I have to get this right, the UK's only digital first green energy domestic supplier. So I will just share my screen to get my slides up. Here we go. So yeah, I wanted to spend this 15 minutes to introduce you to Pure Planet, what we do and what our mission is in terms of shaking up the way that the energy system does things, and also introduce you a little bit to the technology that makes us special in this industry. But before I started, I wanted to pose a question which hopefully you can continue to think about after this session is complete. And that is, how many times a day do you think about the energy that you use that powers your life and the work that you do? Now, my guessing is that it's probably not that much. And my sort of secondary question to you is thinking about whether not thinking about it and not really engaging in that system, it is something that we need to kind of continue with into the future to build a more sustainable world and also achieve net zero by 2050. So at Pure Planet, our mission is to use technology to make energy and particularly the domestic supply market interesting, engaging, and most importantly of all, build the case that renewable energy can be affordable. Now, it's not always been the case that energy suppliers have sort of built that connection between their customers, the system as a whole, and the environment. So I wanted to bring up this picture. This is the world in which I operate in. Apologies, it is from 2012. But I think this really demonstrates quite how complicated the world that we live in is, and therefore what the task of decarbonisation and achieving net zero when it comes to the energy system is going to be. So retail and the supply market is at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And interestingly enough, consumers aren't even really on this map. So if you cast your mind back to 2014, the industry and particularly the supply market was pretty much dominated by the big six suppliers. So that's British Gas, E.ON, EDF, SSE, npower, and Scottish Power. Now, these guys also kind of held the monopoly of generation and transmission, and really left little room or energy or really imagination to shake up the status quo. The systems were super analog. You'll probably have, hopefully, not too traumatizing memories of waiting on the phone for hours and hours to get hold of a call center, to be passed around from team to team to get your energy issue resolved. There was also very few market drivers, both from customers and from the industry as a whole, to make the case for renewables in terms of domestic customers being interested in knowing where their supply comes from, but also not really many pricing signals from those suppliers to encourage customers to reduce the energy that they're using, change behaviours, or maybe take on new technologies that might reduce the emissions impact of the energy that they use. So enter Pure Planet. So around the same time in 2014, the idea of building something different was first seeded in the minds of our founders, Andrew, Chris and Stephen, who are friends and former colleagues in the telecommunications industry. And what they really wanted to do was to use what they'd learned from telecoms to really put the consumer at the heart of the energy system, both in terms of driving innovation, but also improving customer experience, again, to create that engagement between everyday life, suppliers, and the impact that we have on the environment. So they started with two main questions, really. How do we make energy more accessible and engaging? And also, how do we make the case that businesses can be built from sustainable principles from the bottom up? So it actually, so it actually took the team just under 3 years to design and develop the model that we have on the market now. So in 2017, we launched Pure Planet on the market with three really simple but hugely important driving principles. Those are zero guilt, zero markup, and zero hassle form of energy. So I'll take each of those in turn. So firstly, zero guilt. So Pure Planet will only ever supply its members 100% green electricity and 100% carbon offset gas. What's particularly interesting from the gas side is at Pure Planet, we buy offset credits for gas emissions from source. So that's including the transportation, processing, and also the emissions that are released to produce the heat. We also carbon offset the commutes of our some 120 staff, although admittedly in 2020 that's much easier than it was last year. So next is zero markup. So again, in order to kind of shake up the usual way that customers engage with their energy suppliers, Pure Planet wanted to build a slightly different pricing model. So what that means for us is our members, and we call our customers members, are charged a flat membership fee. And then on top of that, their consumption is charged on a unit rate, which is a lot more cost reflective of the wholesale price of energy, which luckily is actually being driven down at the moment. So that means that Pure Planet doesn't make profit from the energy that we use. Put it a different way, that also means that we are not financially incentivized to encourage you to use more energy. Now, for anyone not in the business, the golden rule of energy is that the best energy is the energy that you don't use. And finally, zero hassle. So this is really where our digital model excels itself. So we really wanted to change the way that suppliers do energy. Again, like I said before, back in the olden days, it was a very analog, very call center focused way of engaging customers with their energy that really wasn't engaging and really didn't allow people to be able to manage and control not only their costs, but also their consumption and adding on any different technologies that they choose to change their lifestyles with. So we developed our app, which is award-winning, and we also have the same services available on online accounting. So this really allows members to have everything that they need at their fingertips 24/7. So less time waiting around calling a call centre Monday to Friday, and more time doing your life admin when you want to do your life admin, but also making it hopefully engaging and fun and something that you're a little bit more familiar with using your mobile or tablet. We also developed WhatBot, which we love. So WhatBot is a 24/7 digital assistant powered by AI. So it means it's constantly learning, and we can constantly train it to learn different tricks and different products and services in the kind of ever-changing energy space. So WhatBot is the first port of call for all members' queries and questions. So again, that means that they can get services and get questions answered whenever they are able to. But it also means that about around 80% of member queries and questions are resolved by WhatBot as first port of call. Now, obviously, if there are more complicated issues or members would like to speak to an expert, then WhatBot passes on the cases to our very human digital service agents who are meant to be based in our offices in Bath. So we really feel that this digital model not only means that we're able to provide a really excellent 24/7 service to our customers that is engaging and uses the kind of tools that they're used to managing their lives every day. But crucially also for the team, it means that the kind of issues and problems that they are managing through are the juicy ones. And I'm biased, but the energy industry is very complicated and has a lot of tricky little things. Our digital model also meant that we could move seamlessly to remote working way back in March when the lockdown was announced. So this is a screenshot of one of our first team meetings and has kind of been a lifeline for us. I'm sure everyone can say the same. It also means that our operational and service levels were maintained and actually exceeded performance at the beginning of lockdown, which is not really what could be said for the rest of the industry, who really struggled kind of getting their technology up and running. This was also really, really important because then, as unfortunately still is, we've had a really real increase in members contacting us for reassurance about kind of increasing consumption and charges and what have you. So it's not just our digital model that helps achieve or helps our members achieve sustainable goals. Outwardly, Andrew, Chris and Stephen were also really keen to build from the bottom up a sustainable business. So we are signatory to the UN Global Compact, which keeps us committed to living out the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And I'd recommend anyone else who is running a business to join this too, because the resources are fantastic. And it really shows, I think, the team is super proud of the sustainability mission that sort of runs through everything that we do. So what has all that hard work fulfilled? Well, I am delighted to say we are in touching distance of having, being able to say that we have, and our members have, carbon offset or saved almost 1 million tonnes of carbon since we first started in 2017. I really hope that that goes some way to showing that just a small individual action, like spending 2 minutes and switching to a renewable energy supplier, can make a huge difference. So before I finish, what's next? I think showing that diagram to you at the beginning really proves to me, in my role at least, that customers play a very, very important part in driving change and driving the kind of standards of businesses and organizations to achieve net zero. And for me, I think energy needs to become increasingly more personal, and people need to be thinking when they switch on their light or turn their laptop on every morning, where that energy is coming from and what it means to the wider world and the environment. Challenger suppliers like Pure Planet, and there are some other brilliant organizations out there, I think are trying to build a kind of more engaging product. And I think we are really getting to a stage where we have made the case that renewables are here to stay and also offer a really affordable and competitive energy choice. The next challenge, I think, though, will be decarbonisation of heat and mobility. I'm so excited to hear some of the other speakers later. So for us, that means that we've used our technology and our really engaged member base to try and encourage members to kind of look outside the generic energy model to where else they can make great savings. So we've just launched some pages on our website, which you can check out, aimed at EV drivers. And our technology is powering this carbon comparison calculator, where you can plug in your dream EV make and model, your average mileage, and it pops up like this, which is a cost and emissions calculator, to really prove that switching to EV and switching to Pure Planet's 100% renewable tariff means that you can make a really small difference. So before I go, I just wanted to leave you with this image, which is a Pure Planet favourite. It's the first image of the Earth taken from space in 1972. And I think it's a favourite because it really reminds us that when you're making decisions about the future and developing into a sustainable future, you really have to think of the whole system model. But I think it also shows that just small individual actions can make a huge difference. And also, finally, before I go, we really would be remiss of me not to encourage you to join us. So we're hiring our ever-growing team of energy and sustainability enthusiasts, are looking for some really great roles, including UX designer, head of brand, and member retention manager. And we're also always on the lookout for talented and enthusiastic digital service agents. You can also get a quote for a website or downloading the app on the App Store or the Play Store. And we're also offering a direct joiners exclusive discount at the moment. So I would get on that as soon as possible. So thank you so much for having me, Green Tech Southwest, and thanks so much for your time, everyone.
Great stuff. Thanks, Katie. We get a virtual round of applause. That'd be great in the comments. Yeah, really interesting. Thank you so much for telling us everything about Pure Planet and some really great plans for the future, particularly like that EV carbon calculator, which I'll be playing with later. So great stuff. We'll invite you back to answer some questions. We've had a few through, which is great. So what I'll do from here is I'm just going to maximize Elliot, and if you could pop yourself, which is gone, great. Okay, and Elliot, over to you. So Elliot's co-founder of Ecologi, which is a business which has been making lots of waves locally, and hopefully further afield as well. I know you've got a big event coming up as well, which we'll talk about later. But over to you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here. Yeah, good stuff. Green Tech Southwest. It's really nice. I've been in Bristol for like 2.5 years, 3 years, and I now feel part of the Southwest, which is great. Yeah, see you later, Londoners. Although, oh yeah, no, we're being really inclusive and everything, but I'm pretty happy about being down here. Let me just share my screen and just get things started. So close that down. Don't want to do that stuff. Yeah, so Ecologi, we launched just last year. So relative newcomer, and yeah, this is me. And I just want to talk about for next, hang on, I'm just going to do a little stopwatch as well. Talk about two main things: that we don't have time, and that in terms of climate. So I've taken stock, I've done the numbers personally, and so have the scientists, but we don't have enough time to reduce our own carbon footprint. And I'm going to talk about how we must make time, and that's an enticing opportunity. And for this, I'll be talking about micro funding of climate solutions directly. Cool, so we'll come back to that. Firstly, a bit about me, and I say me, but everyone working on the team started off as, you know, a bunch of volunteers and just running a day job and then such a thing in the evening. But, you know, I'm a real hobbyist environmentalist. I've been doing a lot of the things we're meant to be doing for ages, but my carbon footprint was still significant. And I'm thinking about all the other millions and billions of people who aren't hobbyist environmentalists and just thinking, shoot, we're in for a real tough ride when we think about our remaining carbon budget. So I just wanted, on a personal level, to be able to do more, some sort of kind of red button that I could press personally and that other people could press too. You know, I just didn't think that when I was on my deathbed, and hopefully decades to come, and thinking about the kind of bamboo replacement, kind of cotton wool birds or whatever, all these little tiny actions, I just didn't feel like the collective amount of that was enough for my own contribution, knowing how grave the situation is really. And so what we've got over here. So I was spending a lot of money at the time when I was in London on the odd coffee here and there. I say the odd coffee like every day, maybe sometimes a day, you know, all fancy ones on my trip to work, and thinking about what good could one coffee and a pastry do per month if that was spent on climate action. And I was just immediately blown away, and became just such an obvious opportunity that we should all look into. You know, 2-ish years ago, the kind of climate action market funding thing was mostly carbon offsets, and it had a rocky history, and I'll go into a bit about that before. So didn't have much of a head start. But anyway, so I knew the kind of solutions are out there. I'd already been aware. I'm going to go into kind of like live demo mode. Already been aware of this resource called Project Drawdown, and actually anyone who's into climate, it's just the kind of the Bible for the kind of the route that we can go to achieving drawdown when we take in more greenhouse emissions than we emit. Essentially, that's the point of drawdown. And my eyes lit up when I saw their table of solutions. 80 odd climate project types, all ranks and heavily researched. I've met some of the senior researchers now. It's a rigorous piece of research, and it just shows us the pathway that we can achieve the 2-degree limit, warming limit, and even a 1.5 degree limit too. And these projects are all out there. They're not relying on breakthroughs in climate science. We don't actually need those. We just need to fund the available solutions that are out there right now. And for us, that seems like such an opportunity. Okay, and so yeah, about 1.5 years ago, started to work on our own thing. It was called Offset Earth back in the day, and now Ecologi, because we really love nature-based climate solutions on top of all the other ones. But with Ecologi, let's just start from the beginning. It's a subscription service that has the potential for everyday people to halt climate change. And the idea is you're just funding climate solutions, and then you fall in love with the impact that you're making, and you get to see it. So for £4.50 a month, for the most part, if you're in the UK, or if you're a frequent flyer, which no one's doing, and if you're in the US, it's different. It's just all handled behind the scenes. But you get to grow your own forest, 12 trees at a time. You get to kind of see it all come to life. And you compensate your entire carbon footprint. But these trees that have just been planted aren't going to offset your carbon footprint anytime soon. So that's planning for the future. And then planning for today is where you're also supporting 24 other climate action projects every year, and so we kind of dot around. But these projects have already removed or reduced or avoided the kind of the carbon from your footprint, essentially, to balance out. And then also you kind of challenge your own carbon footprint, you know, make the kind of the changes that you can make, because they are the kind of most immediate and impactful and direct changes to our kind of global carbon footprint you can make. I'll just give you a little whistle stop tour. So when you signed up, this is your public profile. This is Lucy. So she's also my wife and co-founder. And she's been on this for 18 odd months. So she had a sneak peek before we were even live. And as you can see, those £4.50s really add up into something quite bonkers, to be honest. And so here's Lucy's trees. They're starting to grow. Get to tap on each one and find out the particular species and when they're planted. And that was Madagascar. I think some of the more recent ones are going to be Nicaragua. Yeah, there's a little random distribution amongst our planting sites, but they're in there. And you can see UK one, for example. So Lucy has added like UK reforestation as well. What's awesome about our UK reforestation that I think Duncan in a 60-second intro talked about is that we're working much closer with our kind of partners. And so we actually get to see kind of photos of your actual tree and the GPS and the actual species. So we don't plant just one species in a project location. We plant like 20 to kind of mimic nature as closely as possible. We like to have fun and just to make it engaging as possible. So we had our first birthday just only 2 or 3 months ago. And so we planted a little birthday cake tree for everybody. And there every quarter, we really are for the planet. And so every now and again, we find surplus cash, and we just distribute that out to our subscribers in the form of tree dividends. So 57 trees was our last dividend to every single subscriber. So business, so for individuals, there's this kind of red button here where you can just also contribute in a bigger way. For business, I've got just the same sort of issue historically or traditionally, where I had to do this with my previous business, where we want to do something really green and impactful, but you look into kind of net zero and the kind of the costs associated with environmental consultants and specialists auditing your own business and the supply chain. It's incredibly expensive, and it gets just as expensive as your organization grows as well. So we wanted to create something which any business could just do right now, self-service and fully automated. And as far as we're aware, we're the only people who can do such a thing. So we created the Climate Positive Workforce, and we launched this just 12 months ago. We've got 2,000 odd businesses on this. It's very much like our individual kind of payment plan. Right? If you're a one-person band, you'd have the same amount of impact, but if you have 100 employees, it obviously multiplies. Broadly speaking, you have your employees, so your entire workforce, go climate positive. So their professional lives is all offset, so including all the kind of business travel and also the personal lives of that person. So it's a really nice staff perk as well as like a CSR initiative. And at the end of this, the business themselves get an incredible kind of opportunity to show everyone and the world what the impact they're having through an initiative like this. So this is Lucy and Yak, one of our first companies, and yeah, big forest, big impact happening, but £4 per employee per month, which is 0.13% of your staff budget. So we'd really urge every business owner or kind of anyone who's working in a company just to say that there's some great climate action that can be happening. So it's all about the actual projects. And as I was saying, carbon offset markets had just a rubbish time. Since it was launched, the original methodology was leaky. It didn't include kind of criteria on making sure the local impact was managed. So, kind of big corporations wading in on this land and just filling it with whatever they need to do. So that was really rubbish. And there's now amazing standards. Gold Standard is our favorite and aptly named. It's supported by WWF, well, co-created by WWF, and they are amazing. And so every month we support 2 new projects. So like most recently, there's this landfill. Well, yeah, there's this kind of major rubbish tip in Brazil, and has all this kind of escaping methane. So it's been retrofitted with this kind of heavy works where it captures the methane and then processes it away from being a terrible greenhouse gas into one that's a lot more mild, and then generates renewable energy off it by kind of steam turbines, that sort of thing. So yeah, we like to dot around. We've got a volunteer climate committee full of academics and industry experts kind of backing us up. Well, back to the kind of the original idea that we don't have enough time, but we need to make time. And this is, I think, where kind of where collective action comes in, where if we all kind of come together with like a utility level platform that is just about funding climate action, then we can really achieve what we need to achieve. And I've spent the last year especially like modeling exactly this and talking to plenty of people who have been doing and living this for a long time. But as Project Drawdown, like in the first resource that I show you, kind of outlined, it's all there ready for us. And what we want to do is achieve this kind of Spotify or Netflix level kind of subscription service. So our impact's on the up. So just the last million of this was planted in like 45 days, under 50 days. So we're seeing some really nice scale of action. And to kind of help illustrate what happens if a platform like this reaches 3,000 members and 7,500 members, that sort of thing, you'd be glad to know that we've now achieved 70,000 cow burps avoided every minute. It's obviously a major milestone that everyone's thinking about, but to try to help illustrate the sort of impact that we can have. This now needs recalibrating. We're actually much further along. The amount of impact per member is way higher than we forecast 3 months ago. So we're already planting Central Park trees every day, and we're quite close to 1 million trees planted every month. So it's really cool, and then just gets more and more exciting. So 900,000 members, some pretty okay sized SaaS companies are around that mark, and holy crap, look, 0.1% of the entire global carbon footprint. I mean, in the United Nations eyes, that is a major, major win. And it keeps on going. It gets crazy. Spotify level, if that amount of money was invested on using today's prices, then more than 10% of the global carbon footprint would be removed and avoided. So this is something that we should really be aiming for. And that's certainly what we're up to here. So little whistle stop tour. I know this is about tech. So for the last 3 minutes, I want to just go tech heavy. We have this kind of public ledger of all our actions, and this links back to our platform. So any actions that happen are on here, and then they link through to our platform. And like Lucy's profile that you saw earlier, we couldn't just put some trees on Lucy's profile. It has to have this kind of digital linkage all the way through to there's something in the way of I can't quite get onto the next bit, but anyway, you can see all the kind of the certificates and other things we have here are kind of our supply chain and all our receipts and everything. Just have it just all out in the open where there is obviously a lot of mistrust. We've got an API, and that's now planting 200,000 trees a month, which is really cool. Lots of wacky ways as trees funding is happening. We just don't know how it's happening, but it's exciting. I think our success will only happen when we can really show you the impact that you're absolutely making. A photo of the tree in the UK is cool, but we need to kind of use microsatellite technology a lot better. So, for example, this is a solar farm that we've been funding over the last year, and you can see it developing. Quite an easy one to kind of see some space, but I think seeing is really believing, and just feels that kind of extra level of attachment. We do a lot of kind of preventing deforestation as well as reforestation, and we've partnered with Pashama on this, but they're able to use their kind of computer vision technology from LiDAR and microsats, and to actually kind of quantify and visualize carbon. So it's really exciting, but the next steps for us is to kind of bring this into our sort of straight into our platform. And then this is kind of like a map of all our climate action. And then what am I going to show you on this one? Oh yeah, so we've got our actual own land in Madagascar, for example, and we want to have, oh yeah, that was it. We can have, because it's all GPS mapped now on a per tree basis, we'll have to have drones flying over every month, and then over a planned flight path. And then you can have a news feed essentially for how that particular tree is getting on. It's absolutely nuts, but it's really there. Okay, I think I'm actually done for time, but I did want to show a quick nod to this purely non-profit event that we're running. It's time. COP26, which is the great, was to be like a kind of a major climate conference, has been postponed for 12 more months, and that's absolutely nuts. We've got no time to postpone a year, so we've tried to fill its boots a little, and then have ended up producing this festival of climate action, completely free. It runs over 2 days, and we've got 170 speakers, artists, innovators. There's like a choir, there's comedians, there's an hour-long rave in nature right at the end to like legitimately make it a festival. I'd love for anyone to kind of to check it out. So that's itstime.earth. Okay, cool. I think I'm probably done with a little presentation. So thank you very much. How do I stop? Yeah, there we go.
Thanks very much, Elliot. That was absolutely brilliant, and really sort of bringing that to life as well with the graphics. I love that, you know, the Netflix and you know, sort of comparisons there. And I think, you know, ambitions, you know, why not aim for that? Because you know, it seems to be you're making great waves at the moment and doing incredibly well. We look forward to that festival as well. I'm sure we can drop the link, and I think we're going to talk about that a bit later on as well. Thank you very much. So yeah, round of applause, or you can post a tree emoji if you can.
That's right.
Which is great. So yeah, we have got some questions which we'll rattle through. Just going to invite Katie back if we can. Ellen, great stuff. Welcome back. Good stuff. So probably what I'll do, if I sort of ask alternate questions, and then yeah, we'll probably go for sort of 4 or 5 minutes, because I think we still want a little break before we kick back off with the second session. So Katie, for you to start with, we have got a question here from Elliot, which you could probably ask yourself. But Elliot would love to know more about the projects of where Pure Planet's energy is coming from.
Great question, Elliot. And so I think maybe your question speaks to a little bit of a controversy that's kind of rumbling around the energy world at the moment, which is how do we guarantee that the renewable energy that we sell is actually renewable. So obviously from, as you saw with the diagram that I put up, suppliers take a really, really small part of it. So we can only really sell the energy that's out there. And the UK is now doing a really impressive job at outpacing renewable generation with electricity from fossil fuels. So from electricity, we can say that we're 100% renewable elec, because we buy all our energy that has renewable certificates of origin certificates. So that's basically like a bit of a financial instrument, to be honest. It's the way that we sort of participate in the wholesale market. You might have also heard about power purchase agreements, which basically cut out the middleman. So it means that a supplier or a buyer has a direct kind of agreement with the generator, but that could be for renewables or fossil generation. So that's kind of where our elec comes from. I'll also post from a sort of gas and offsetting perspective. I think your presentation was so cool about just showing the stories of kind of what people are doing around the world and how individuals can make an impact. We did a really cool blog a couple of months ago about the kind of projects that the carbon offsets are funding from Pure Planet. So yeah, does that help?
Great, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, cool. Really interesting.
Sounds good. One for you, Elliot. We've got a question from Benedict. Congrats on 1 million trees planted. I think, are you up to 4 million? If I'm correct?
Yeah, 4.3.
Just over 4, which is brilliant. In just a year. Do you know how many trees would need to be planted to offset the UK carbon emissions?
Let me just do some on the fly maths. So looking at 350 million tons. And then our mangrove trees, we love mangrove trees because they sequester a lot of carbon very quickly. So that's 1 billion mangrove trees. So yeah, 1 billion mangrove trees would be good. You can plant quite a lot of them. They're just the best kind of climate ally. So yeah, our kind of key partner is now planting around 10 million a day, which is absolutely nuts. Just last year they're planting under 1 million a day. They've just partnered with Amazon as well, so their current mission is to get to 1 million a day, which is just absolutely bonkers, but it's the time we live in.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for that. Back to you, Katie, from Dominic. How do you go about not making profit from the electric used as you offer a fixed tariff? Second part to that, what do you do with the profit made from the difference in the wholesale to retail price?
Great question, Dominic. I feel that and I was like, yes, okay. So obviously when we launched, we had just a variable tariff, so that is able to kind of track the market a little bit better. But we launched our fixed tariff in May because we really felt, particularly with the coronavirus, that people wanted a bit more kind of stability in terms of what they're expecting to pay for their energy. So our pricing model is different. So it means that the unit cost is substantially less in comparison to other suppliers that show your kind of daily rate plus your standing your unit rate. Sorry. So in terms of how we don't profit, or at least we try and kind of reduce those unit costs as far as possible. Obviously, it's quite difficult, and what I think, unfortunately, people and consumers don't know about the wholesale, about the energy system in general, is that sort of unit price isn't just how much it actually costs us to buy wholesale prices. So customers also in their bills invest in network upgrades and a whole host of kind of policy costs and stuff, which also are sort of subsumed in that price, which means that there's not as much as we would probably like to wiggle room to sort of make that price as sort of affordable and as fair as possible. So certainly it's tricky, but I think we're hopefully moving into a direction, particularly with smart meters, where you can really see your consumption on a kind of pounds and pence basis every day, to really moving into that world of this light, this radiator cost me this much money, and people really having that kind of ownership. So I hope that our model is kind of leading the way in demonstrating that sort of relationship between bill paying and your consumption.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you for that. That's great. So I think we've got time for one more for Elliot. For anyone who has asked questions that we don't have time to cover, we will put the questions to the speakers, and we'll post the answers in the meetup group later this afternoon, hopefully, if that's all right with you guys, to come back with any burning questions, any answers. So last one for Elliot. We've got there's a maximum amount of plantable area on Earth. So do you plan to migrate to favour different drawdown projects in the future? Plan to, I think that is from Matt.
Yes. So it's interesting that in terms of kind of research, there is that there was originally room for 1.2 trillion trees, and it got downrated to just a lonely old 650 billion. So still plenty of room, and we're also cutting down 2 or 3 times as many trees as being planted, which the ratio used to be a lot worse just a year ago. So anyway, we're making more room than we're planting at the moment. So still capacity, and with this climate committee that we have here, we have this overall kind of funding strategy where, let's say, no more than 50% of funding goes into nature-based solutions. So of 50% is reforestation, but preventing deforestation, coastal wetlands, seagrass, and all sorts of areas. So yeah, we're going to do a lot of work next year in terms of kind of bringing that to the surface about our actual kind of funding strategy, essentially. but yeah, I mean, renewable energy is a major opportunity, as well as some kind of surprising other areas, essentially. So yeah, be mixing up, and then 5% of the pie chart, of the funding pie chart, will come from early stage breakthrough climate technology, so direct air carbon capture and things like enhanced weathering, which is cool chemistry stuff. It's just mimicking nature, essentially. So yeah, we're going to do it all one way or another.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for answering those. And yeah, as I say, we'll get to the other questions. We'll get them over to you at some point later. But yeah, thank you very much again, both of you. And yeah, wish you very much best of luck with your respective projects. And I'm sure everyone here will be checking you out. We've obviously put a lot of links up there, so there's a lot to look at. And yeah, look forward to sort of hearing from you in the future. We'd love to have you back at some point as well, just to talk about how things are going. So thank you very much. I believe we're going to go into a break now, and then we'll be back sort of somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, I think. Hannah?
Mike, I don't think we've got time for the break.
Okay, right, cracking on.
We're definitely not going to be done by 2:30.
Okie doke.
It was wishful thinking on my part
Yeah,
when I did the schedule here to think we'd ever be on time.
All good. Okay.
So, I mean, I think it's going to take us just a couple of minutes to get the next block of speakers up. So if people need to walk away from their screens for a bit, I would really strongly encourage you to. But we do try and not take too much of people's days out with events. So I think, Mike, we need to carry on.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Let's see if we can bring everyone onto the stage.
Because we did all ask them to come for the next group, didn't we, for 25 past?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I can see Andy's on his way. And Flora.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Oh. Excellent. Yes. Yeah, sorry. Well, I guess for you speakers, there's no change of plan. We're sticking to the time for you, so that's awesome. That's really good. Great, Mike. We can't see you on the screen at the moment, by the way, Mike. I don't know if you know that.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
You are our Green Tech Southwest avatar, which is definitely not as nice as your lovely face.
Okay, that's very kind of you. Cool. Can't quite see how to change that at the moment, but yeah, thank you very much all for coming. And yeah, we're just going to kick straight on, I think. So Andy, we're obviously going to hear from you next from Karshare. So thank you very much for coming. And if we could ask Flora and Pete to sort of stay in the group, minimise yourself. And sound, there you go. Off we go. So yeah, thanks very much, Andy. How was your birthday?
It was great. It was yeah, it started lovely actually. I was on the south coast, wonderful sunrise, and it just got busy from there.
Great. Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for coming. I know you're really busy, so yeah, we'd love to hear more about Karshare. So I'm going to get out of the way and leave you to it.
Yeah, fine. I'm going to just set my screen up for sharing. Okay. I think that should be sitting on a big blue screen of Karshare.
Yeah, I can see that.
Brilliant. Yeah, okay, let me just push through then. So I've got 15 minutes. I think someone cleverly set up a timer, but I've got the clock in front of me actually. Okay, so Karshare. I guess it's probably important to sort of explain the problem we're trying to solve right now. And the problem is this, that we fundamentally believe that private car ownership is broken. Now, many of you may know this, some of you may not know this, but there are currently a billion cars on the planet. In fact, it's forecast there'll be 1.5 billion by 2030. There's actually 38 million vehicles, but 32 million cars in the UK. But actually, no matter where you are in the world, they're only ever used 4% of the time. So for the majority of their life, these cars sit parked on our streets and driveways. And actually, having been in and around Bristol through our car sharing experience at the airport, and moreover now what we do in the city, we can see that, you know, Bristol, like London, like many cities, there is a chronic parking problem. You know, difficult to find a space to park your car because there's too many of them. And in fact, because all of them are sat literally doing nothing, we really believe that we could be smarter about how we own and use cars. And simply by sharing some of the cars that we have on our streets and driveways, we can get rid of a huge swathe. And I did like the ambition and the target of thinking big that Elliot talked about, and your KPI of 70,000 burps for cows. But of course, you've gone much bigger than that, and you can say that if we do other things, we can go a lot further. I mean, we want to take 200 million cars off the planet, you know, and we're going to start doing that in Bristol. So that's you know, we're a business that's based in Bristol right now, but we're going a long way on this journey to help support a much more sustainable future for cars. Now, I think we're not the only ones to think this. I mean, the world is changing. People are sharing more. I think everybody knows about sharing, you know, whether it's sharing music on Spotify. That was one of the first things that we had. Obviously, Airbnb, and there are so many others. You can share your pets these days. Borrow my doggy, and I figure that if you're happy to share your pet out to give someone else's your care of your pet, then a car is much lower down in the pecking order of what you value. In actual fact, we already see that, you know, cars are being built ready to share. So things you might not realize is that there are companies like Volvo, there are companies like Hyundai that are building cars that have share ready tech in them. And indeed, those businesses, Volvo already has a business called Link & Co, where you can subscribe to own a car for as short a period of a month, and you can share that car in and around your community, so you can help to pay for it and make it more affordable. Now, that's just specifically to Volvos and through that business. But what we're saying is that we can really unlock this by enabling everybody and anybody to share their cars in a really secure, assured community. So you can either help somebody in your community by enabling them to use your car, or you can indeed access a car without having to buy another car. And I think that's one of the big emphases here, is that for every car share, there are many studies. There's a recent one done in Scotland, particularly around car sharing clubs, but for every car shared, we can take 14 cars off the planet. And I think, you know, other studies, IBM has done a very big study, but they've proven that in cities, 30% of the emissions and the congestion is simply driven by people trying to find parking spaces in cities where streets are clogged with parked cars. So you can imagine, if we try to take cars and do take cars off the streets, much more space for everyone to exist. We can repurpose the streets, use them for other things. And indeed, Bristol as a council, you know, just focusing on Bristol, they want to get rid of 50% of the cars by 2030 in their city. They've got a very strong green agenda. Now there's 210,000 cars currently sitting in around streets and driveways in Bristol. They want to reduce that to 100,000. Now you can't do that unless you really change how people can access certain modes of transport. And we would really, really prefer people to walk, to ride a bike, to catch a bus, catch a train. But we understand that in certain occasions, you just need a car. But I'd rather people use a car and access a car and share a car than have to buy a car for their occasional use. You know, because even producing a car is roughly about 14.5 tons of carbon that we don't need to do if we just use the ones we produce more effectively. So this is what we see. You know, the future of a car is about access, not ownership. If you do any survey, 50% of car owners say they won't wish to own a car beyond 2025. Now that's massive, really. You think about how many cars are owned across the world. But you have to think back to the fact that, you know, these billion cars that have literally wallpapered our planet are only used 4% of the time. Then the time right now is to rethink that and to, you know, to change our mindsets around how we see and use these cars. Now, we can't claim to be the first to do this. There are other businesses very successful and all doing really good things to help drive this sharing economy and sharing of a car. but some of them still struggle. I mean, in the main, sharing a car, you can imagine it, 75% of the cars, probably more actually, even up to 90% of the cars on these platforms need a physical key to be exchanged. So if I want to borrow my neighbour's car, I more often have to knock on their door and access that car with a physical key. So that's a lot of friction. Equally, you know, these cars that are on these platforms, they're not instantly bookable. So you have to request the car. And if the owner hasn't been probably as up to speed about keeping their availability as regular as they need to, they often reject it because they change their mind about using or not using cars. So owners have to be more deliberate and focused on blocking out time when they do and don't use cars. But if they don't do that, the requests for cars get rejected. And I guess I suppose the example is everybody, I believe, understands what Uber is about and how Uber works. It's an on-demand ride-hailing service. Now, imagine if you pressed the Uber app and hailed an Uber car and nobody came. Not one single driver responded to your request. You probably wouldn't use it again. So the danger is, unless you create an instant book platform, on-demand platform for car sharing, people are going to wane and start to use other things or just ignore that it exists as an option. So you have to make it really really different. So at the moment, there's I guess, not great traction with these businesses, poor experiences, but we know we can solve that. I think that's what makes us quite different. We've built a platform right from the start, really, where shared cars are all of them are instantly booked. So the point being is that once you see a car on a platform that is in your locality, neighborhood, or for us, it started at airports, that you look at it, you see it, you want that exact car, and you book it. So that's really important. It's a really good experience. You've now got that car. But the other really important thing is that to enable this to be really easy for everybody, and that's owners and renters, and this is where the tech comes in, we have to install little bits of technology that allow you to access that car without the physical key. So everything is keyless and contact-free. The app you see on the screen there has got a little score in it, 71. So that is literally a Fitbit for the driver. So it's telematics, that's the technical name, but it enables us to monitor driver behaviors, and we can really help support them to drive effectively the safest and the best they can drive by making people aware of what their habits are. And it isn't like, you know, a policeman sat in your passenger seat nagging you all the time. It's literally trying to encourage you to see some of the things that you do that you might not necessarily do and how you can improve that. And essentially, it's done because we want to create those assurances for the community to make them really believe that we have their back and the community is there for all the right reasons. And in doing those things, of course, with this technology, it means that the insurance we have to put on everybody's car, I know it's fully comprehensive. If it goes wrong, we'll fix it. But the insurance costs, if they're kept really low, it means that the money that is made through the car, kind of renting the car, puts more money back into the individual's pocket. So that's more into the owner's pockets, and it means that the renters have a much better value proposition of cars located around the corner they can access through their phone. So essentially, you know, stepping back to this technology point, we build trust using technology. I mean, it's absolutely critical. This business, whilst it's really enabling cars we shared, we're in the business of trust, and we're in the business of building trust. And technology is a massive enabler for us to do that. So this is like this is actually the app that we've built and we use right now, where you can imagine as a renter, you're looking at actually accessing cars in and around where you live. So you can search for a car, you can search by price, you can search by location. Once you've found a car that suits your needs, whether it's a big, a small, or whatever type car you need, you can book that car instantly. So that's now you've got that car, you've got certainty, you can relax. On the day of the rental, or it could be 3 hours from now, you can then locate that car because we have the device in the car, so very easy to find the car. And of course, then through the app, it recognizes who you are, and it recognizes that you've rented the car, and it's fully encrypted, but that unlock will then happen. I'll explain how that works even more so with technology on the next page. And then off you go, you drive. So simply search, locate, open, drive, that's it. And you can imagine how that differs considerably from renting a car today. You know, the desks they have, the queues they have, you don't even know what car you're getting when you book a car, you know, at Avis or Hertz today. We're completely transforming that to say, look, we can do so much more with the cars that are currently sat on our streets and driveways to enable a far greater experience and help to drive sustainability across the planet. Now, tech, again, a massive enabler for us. So when you're next to the car and you found the car through the app, we just need to make sure it's you or the person that's booked the car is opening the car, because obviously you think this could be subject to some degree of people just trying to get around a system. So every renter that comes on our platform, they basically load up a profile. We check their driving license, we check it's not fake, we check their address, matches where they live, and we check that the photograph they've given us matches the one on the license. We've got a full record of every renter on the platform. They've met all the conditions. We check all their points and on their license to make sure that they are a worthy driver. That means that we know that they're going to look after the cars effectively. Now, all those things are done. So when they come next to the car, all we're asking them to do is to put a little face in the phone, take a selfie, and that instantly then matches that and goes to the records in our system and says, yes, that is Andy that's next to the car. Great, we're going to unlock the car. So again, it's really smart technology that says, look, we just want to make sure that we have a secure and safe system, that no one is trying to do things that we wouldn't want them to do, and all the people who want to rent the cars can rent the car. So that's one big bit of technology that we use to help that. The telematics bit is I think, again, part of the secret ingredient that makes this really work for us. We've been using telematics since we've been sharing cars at airports since 2017. And we quickly learned that, like everybody, if you mention to someone you're going to get a rating, and I guess it's similar to Airbnb, for those of us who stayed in an Airbnb property, we know that we're going to be rated by the owner when we leave, and equally, the owners, as we go into their houses, are going to be rated by guests as they arrive. And everybody wants to get a 5-star rating because you want to be seen to be community minded and giving a great experience. And if you haven't got a 5-star rating, or you've got a much lower rating, your property is going to be rented less. And if as a renter you leave properties in a miserable state every time, and your rating is low, you're going to be able to book them less. And of course, that's not what this community is about. It's about trust and about building really great alternatives. So telematics is a really, I guess it's a really assured way of actually telling people irrefutably how they're driving and how they can drive well. So it's built now within the application, so it's clever. In your phones, you might already know there are accelerometers that can tell us a lot about how fast you're moving and where you're going and what you're doing. But essentially, we can see how quickly the cars are accelerating or braking. So that's just ordinarily smooth acceleration, smooth braking. How fast you're going. Are you within the realms of the 70 miles per hour limit on a motorway, for example? How long you're driving for. So driving for 6 hours at a time is not good. That's why everywhere you go, you see tiredness kills, take a break, have a coffee. And the time of day, driving at 3 in the morning is different to driving at sort of 10 in the morning. But the other thing that's really important to us is that by using it in the app, we can also see that where people are using their phones when driving, critically, a lot of accidents happen these days because people are texting or WhatsApping or reading or grazing information as they're going through traffic slowly. It doesn't have to be a high-speed accident, but it has to be an accident driven by mobile usage. So we can see what people are doing on their mobiles. Now, the important thing is these are just guides for us. It gives the driver an overall score of 74, as you see here, but it enables us to then get under the skin of it a bit more and say, well, how can we help this particular person to improve their rating tomorrow? What can we help them to see that means they might change their behavior? And the really interesting phenomenon for us is that in 89% of cases, when we send out a very friendly message, and the tone of the message is really important. You're a smooth accelerator. How about becoming a corner master? So we gamify it a little bit. In 89% of occasions, the ratings always increase. It doesn't mean to say that 11% go down. It means 11% are less responsive, but 89% is a huge number of people in our community renting cars that like the advice and want to see themselves achieve a better score the next day. And of course, that means that everyone is driving safer. The cars are looked after with the utmost care and respect because they are people's cars after all. But again, it's all driven through technology. Now, as owners understand that this is how we kind of manage and support the renters, and we coach these renters to drive better, they feel more assured that we've got their back, that we know that we want to look after their car. We take pride in really putting in systems that help the community work well together and protect itself together. This goes the same as the condition management. I think everybody, rightly so, has a view about a car as they start a rental or as a car as it ends the rental. I myself, I hired a van actually this week. I needed to move some furniture from my house. I use a Zip car, and I was astounded that Zip van and Zip car still use paper. I've got 3 lines to write in all the damage that I'm getting into around this van, and you can probably understand that vans take a lot of damage because they're long wheelbase vehicles that don't go around corners the same, and the whole van was scratched from front to back. Now, we would advise people who use vans on our particular platform and give them hints and tips about how to be careful around corners. That's part of what we do to really help them manage driving vans. We've got vans that we can share through the community on our platform. But equally, that paper-based system isn't adequate these days to detail all the damage on the van. And I feel vulnerable as a user, not believing that someone's got an accurate reflection of what the van looks like when I took it. Now, for us, we've been really careful to build that capability into the application. So everyone who starts the rental through the app can take pictures of specific areas. They can take close-ups of specific areas and take deeper detailed pictures. And this isn't a perfect system yet. This is a really smart system that works right now. But when it's raining and when it's dark and there's no light there, and you try and use a flash on a phone, you have a really impossible image. All you get is a bright light. So we're still working hard to advance that technology and to enable us to create lighting situations and camera shots that help us to do that when it's really dark and when it's wet. But even so, it still helps us to produce that baseline for people. Above all, though, I think this is it. I mean, the technology is a massive enabler, but it doesn't work without a community. Absolutely 100%. And I think we're proud, really, because Bristolians particularly, have engaged with car sharing, and particularly Karshare, since March, April, during COVID, where we had 216 donated cars through owners in Bristol who helped to mobilise frontline services, NHS staff, care workers, EC Bristol Northwest Food Bank, giving vans where we needed to help the distribution of services. So that's a massive enabler. But the community itself, it works because it is enabled through that technology. So I think that's almost my time up. I just wanted to end on this, really, that I know that there's huge disruption right now. I think we all recognize that. But you know, people's mindsets have been totally blown open. And I think that the social awareness, the green agenda particularly, has really seen a seismic shift in people's real recognition that whatever they do, they can have a positive impact. And even through sharing a car, I can help someone in my local area. I can put some money back into my own pocket. And if I share my car, less people need them, so we don't have to build as many. So it's a really sure way to start to drive this change and build a sustainable future, you know, empty our streets, unclog our streets, and move forward. That's me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Andy. That was absolutely brilliant hearing more about Karshare. And yeah, I think we all agree we definitely need to get more cars off the street. And it sounds infinitely better than renting one. So, you know, and obviously putting that back into the environment. So yeah, really good stuff. So we've got some questions coming through, but obviously we're going to crack on with the next talk. But yeah, quick applause for Andy. Maybe some cars as emojis for this one, or perhaps some trees, whichever we got there. So fantastic. Yeah, thanks very much, Andy. We'll bring you back shortly, but now we're gonna move on to Pete. So if I just invite Pete to the stage. Great stuff. Hi, Pete.
Hi there.
Thank you for being so patient. And yeah, we're really looking forward to hearing from yourself. So Pete is entrepreneur in residence at Sustainable Technologies Business Acceleration Hub in Bath. So I won't spoil too much of your talk, Pete. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, a bit of a change of gear, because I guess it's been great hearing about the local startups and how they're progressing and developing. There's some really great things going on. I guess we're going to look back down the chain a little bit to think a bit more about how they actually started, where they came from. How do you cultivate a startup ecosystem? How can we encourage more companies like the ones we've been hearing from to grow up in our region? So I came up with this slightly mysterious title, Systematic Serendipity. I've just introduced myself. I'm Pete Keeble. I have this glorious job title of Entrepreneur in Residence for the Sustainable Technologies Business Acceleration Hub. My qualification for the entrepreneur bit is I have a 25-year career in telecoms, nothing particularly carbon related. And the highlight of that was co-founding a startup. Three of us formed a company in 2004 that we took through the full cycle and managed to sell it for a goodly sum in 2013. So I have done a startup. I know what it feels like, and hopefully there's some things I can say that will be interesting in how it happens. So systematic serendipity is a deliberate conjunction of two words that don't really fit very well together. Systematic does what it says, and serendipity is all about happy accidents. So they don't fit, but I think in reality they get forced together quite a lot. My recollections of co-founding a startup company was very much in the realm of serendipity, and that's one of the things I enjoy about the job, is hearing about where people started, how they started. And it often starts with somebody being just annoyed the world is broken and needs to be better than it is, and they get chatting to a mate in a pub or something, and the mate chimes in and says, you know what, I think I agree, I can see where you're coming from, and things happen, they start to work together, off we go. There's more happy accidents required on the way to find somebody to give them money to actually take it further when they don't have very much, and perhaps even more to persuade their first customers that yeah, they're worth trusting and taking forward. So there's quite a lot of happy accidents that needs that all to happen. But a company doesn't stay in serendipity mode. It needs to grow systematic. Once you're taking money from customers and investors, you need to have it repeatable. You need to be systematic. So there's a growing up process, but good companies need to carry on doing both things. You need to keep the innovation moving. You need to keep the creativity flowing. So the serendipity bit still needs to be there, and you need to be systematic. So they kind of two stay together in grown up companies. If we flip it around, if you're government or if you're an investor, a pool of investors, how do you make more happy accidents happen, especially in sustainable technology? we need solutions to help the whole world move fast towards massively reducing our carbon footprints and encouraging, supporting us in changing our way of life to become sustainable. So how do you make more happy accidents? How do you become systematic about creating more happy accidents? And the tried and tested method is you basically you set up programs and you put into those programs people who've done it before, people who can infuse knowledge and experience and support and encourage people with ideas trying to make things happen. So if we play that forward, that's really what happened, I guess, about 3 or 4 years ago with the University of Bath. And we applied to do a program with the European Union with the glorious title of the Sustainable Technologies Business Acceleration Hub. I'm going to attempt to stop sharing and try to play a promo video at you just to change the steady drone of my own voice. So let me see if I can do that momentarily. And this will give away the fact that I've been looking at Ecologi, who look great. Okay, hopefully you can see this. I'm going to, somebody shout if you can't see this. Here we go, a brief burst of promo video.
The Sustainable Technologies Business Acceleration Hub offers bespoke support to innovative companies in the west of England interested in developing low-carbon or sustainable technologies. Funded by the European Regional Development Fund, free support is available to SMEs across all sectors. Support is tailored, so it could be about reviewing your business strategy with an experienced consultant, building a team, working with an expert to build a pitch, or developing cutting-edge technologies with researchers at the University of Bath. The Hub currently has over 108 companies in the programme, with 49 companies having already completed the support programme, and 7 having been supported to develop new processes or products. To date, the total grant income generated by all companies involved in the Hub programme is nearly £4.5 million. Total investment raised by companies in the programme has reached nearly £3 million. We've helped many SMEs conduct research at the University of Bath, as well as providing support in the form of consultancy advice, growth planning and funding strategy, grant writing, and other areas of expertise. The Hub has hosted over 20 events, helping to stimulate a regional conversation within the low-carbon sector. Over its 3 years, the programme is on track to establish and scale up small and medium enterprises. For further information, visit the Hub online.
Okay, hopefully you don't feel too bombarded, but I thought a change of pace might be interesting. Okay, flipping back to PowerPoint. So as you heard, I usually describe this as 3 planks. The EU funds our business mentors and consultants. And we cover the classic things like grant funding, investment strategy, business strategy review, those kind of things, all fairly obvious stuff. The limit on it is it's 12 hours as total contact time. So it's it can move things on. In some cases, it's made a lot of difference. In other cases, it's been part of a pool of other support. We also put in place our advisors in residence. Like most SetSquared centres, we have local professionals who give their time for free to help the local startup ecosystem. So we have IP lawyers, corporate lawyers, accountants, a team investor, and a grant writer, all of whom will give their time, small amounts of their time for free. They give half a day a month, and you can tap into that support. One of the novelties of this program was around how we opened the door to the university. And this program had this wondrous Marvel action figure called an action researcher. And basically, what we seek to do is to start conversations with university researchers in areas of interest to our member companies. So it's not like university researchers sit around having nothing to do all day. There has to be mutual interest. They've got to be interested in you. You've got to be interested in them. But we seek to start a conversation, and in some cases, a good number of cases actually, that blossomed into follow-on actions. So ongoing collaborative research, some consulting work, just even people being recruited and being brought over, and and generally just taking the company forward. And that's probably one of the first times, I think, one of the successes of the program is we've dropped the walls. The usual ways of engaging with the university are designed for large corporates. We found a way around that to make it much, much easier for small companies to connect. The last piece that we do is around networking. So I take it as part of my job to introduce people to each other within the project that I think find each other interesting. We run networking events. We're running one next week on the theme of how do we persuade people to be greener, and looking at how we encourage what science there is around behavioural change to make the jump to a low carbon economy. And that's next Thursday, that's coming up. So that's open to anybody, but often our members come along, and in the good old days when we sat in the pub, we could talk to each other for hours about the things we're doing. People in the sustainable sector are generally very interested in each other, very interested in what each other are doing. Everybody has a common cause to move the world forward. We're part of SetSquared, which for those of you who don't know is a partnership of 5 universities, in fact now 6. So that's Surrey, Southampton, Bristol, Bath, Exeter, and now Cardiff, that are working together to put together common processes, if you like, common ways of doing things for their support for surrounding startup companies and the way they do spin-outs. So SetSquared is quite a big funnel of interesting companies. Government does various things through SetSquared, pushes money our way. And also we have pretty strong developing connections with investors and investor groups. So we're developing a lot more around how we can get companies introduced to investors to actually help them develop, because usually most things come down to money to actually make things move forward. So that's a set of things that we take as part of what we do. As I say, government, regional government and national government have various initiatives and other things that tend to come through us as well. So there's multiple layers of networking going on that we're trying to connect our companies into. So that's the 3 planks of STABAR. This is a very dangerous slide because there's always a danger of picking your favourite children. But these are some of the companies we've dealt with, and some of the stories I found most interesting. Our target over the 3 years of the programme is 130, and we're sort of almost there at the moment. The programme will be finishing at the end of March next year. But some of my favourite stories here. So Pinweld is a great little company that was one engineer, ex-RAF guy, who broke a panel on his motorbike when he was in the RAF, figured out a way to fix it without having to buy a new one by basically coming up with a way of welding plastic, put that box back on the shelf and forgot about it for 20 years until he was retraining as a teacher and needed to make a bit of money, and remembered this box, brought it out, offered his services on eBay to fix bits of plastic, and found out that he could fix plastic better than anybody else. And has now taken that forward and to become a company in itself. So working with the Welding Institute and working with the University of Bath and some more collaborative research to help take that forward. And obviously, if you think about the amount of broken plastic panels on, every time you bump your bumper in the car these days, that's, maybe £1,000 worth of plastic that just goes to landfill. Being able to repair that stuff could make an enormous difference. Naturbeads are a spin out from the university. Most of you are familiar with plastic microbead crisis in the ocean, plastic pollution that produces in the ocean. Naturbeads set out to replace the plastic beads with ones made from cellulose that are a natural material and do biodegrade. And they've been awarded a first investment from Sky Ocean Ventures and are moving forward. Greener Hours have developed an app that basically allows you to track when the power system is at its greenest or its dirtiest. So you can choose to avoid the dirtiest periods when there's most non-renewable power on the grid, and concentrate your heavy power use, your washing or whatever you're doing, in periods when things are most renewable. And that's a company that I think was really, again, we were able to make quite a lot of difference to helping them get started. You may have heard of Tumalo. They're a local sort of shareholder, activist support fintech platform. And they came into SetSquared Bath at the very beginning, and we were able to help them on the way. And they're doing great things now. Agile Homes is another fascinating story, which is taking advantage of a planning definition around caravans. Caravans can be 6 meters by 20 meters, I discovered, but they're not actually connected to the ground. If you're not connected to the ground, you don't have to buy the land, and you can prefabricate a very energy efficient, very effective home. And all the financing models around that start to get much more interesting. You turn a house into an appliance. which can be leased or rented or whatever. So it starts to open some really interesting solutions for affordable housing and for transforming our housing stock into a massively more energy efficient and flexible solution. How am I doing for time? I'm not quite sure where we are at the moment. No, he's waving. Okay, all right. In that case, I'll just talk about a couple of others here then. So another one I've really enjoyed, another story I enjoyed, is Onion Collective. They're a social enterprise in Watch It. And this is an interesting thought process. They are mostly interested about creating long-term jobs in Watch It, which is a pretty neglected, West Somerset is a pretty neglected part of the country, totally dependent on the tourism business. They've, amongst various projects they've looked at, they've partnered with a London startup called Biome that are looking at basically mushrooms, or using mushroom mycelium to convert all kinds of material into useful stuff. So they can grow from crop waste, they can grow potentially from even plastic waste in time. So the idea is that they're setting up a pilot plant in Watch It to actually grow building insulation material from various waste products. So that's a really interesting example of how some of these green technologies can really also start to work on the social justice agenda and do some really interesting things. So some of my favorite companies, a very dangerous slide, somebody will hold me to this later, but you can have a look at the list on the website of all the full set. So just reflecting, we're coming to the end of the SCBAR program in March, at the end of March next year. Main lesson I think from it is that we've actually found a way for SMEs, for micro SMEs, really small startups, to come into a university and talk about research. Before now, you've had a barrier of about £50,000 of something, some kind of commitment before a university could really engage. With this action research and the model we've developed, we've just opened up an awful lot more conversation, and that could be really interesting where that goes. So there is a follow-on program queued up, focused on scale-up programs, scale-ups as opposed to startups. So the definition of scale-up is fairly loose, but broadly, something like about 10 people, been around a few years, beginning to make some money. So can we apply the similar kind of recipe to these larger scale companies and help them to become a lot more sustainable? That's the section of the local economy that could make a lot more difference in terms of getting our carbon footprint down and changing the way the economy works. And we're beginning to think about whether we can sponsor or bring in the sustainable technologies from our Centre for Sustainable and Circular Technologies, CSC2, whether they can actually become a sponsor of our forthcoming virtual accelerator that we're putting together at SetSquared in Bath. And in that way start to continue to develop this cohort of companies coming through, smaller startups, heavily technology-based startups, or startups that really could make a lot of difference to how we could progress in becoming a far more sustainable society. Okay, there's a quick flash slide of what the Centre for Sustainable and Circular Technologies is about, which I'm not going to go through in any detail. It's there for reference, but it's really broadening out, or trying to gather together the university-based research in this sector into one bin, one place that's multidisciplinary and actually really trying to come together on looking at the whole people, planet and economic side of moving us forward. Hopefully that was interesting. If it was, there's my details. Do feel free to make contact, and I look forward to more startups of the quality and scale that we've seen today coming through over the next few years.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Pete. Yeah, what an amazing resource for any sort of startup and scale up, obviously, in the plan as well, to get all that knowledge from yourself and sort of colleagues. So yeah, great. Well, if anyone's got some questions for Pete, if they can put them in the Ask a Question section, and we'll go through those sort of fairly shortly. But yeah, round of applause for Pete, everyone in the comments, whatever emoji you think is appropriate. And yeah, thanks very much, Pete, and we'll talk to you in a short while.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi, Flora. How you doing?
yeah, good. Thanks everyone for staying tuned.
No problem. Yeah, great. Well, obviously Flora's GIS officer at Sustrans, which is an organisation I'm sure everyone is aware of, doing some incredible work in Bristol and Bath and beyond. So Again, I won't take up your time. I'll hand over to yourself, and then we'll come back with questions afterwards.
Great. So can you see my screen okay, I hope? Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm Flora. I'm a GIS officer at Sustrans. So my talk's going to be slightly different to what you've heard already, but I hope you enjoy it and take some food for thought. I know I certainly have already. I've got about 10 tabs open of all the things I've been looking up. So today I'm going to talk to you about how Sustrans uses tech to achieve their core aims. So what is Sustrans? Sustrans is the charity making it easier for people to walk and cycle. It was set up in 1977 by a group of friends who wanted to start a cycling revolution. Their first project, which a lot of you may know of already, was reclaiming the disused railway line between Bristol and Bath. It's now a popular and important traffic-free cycle route. Other routes soon followed and continued to appear across the UK as the National Cycle Network, or NCN as we call it, developed. We now have a UK-wide network of signed paths and routes for walking, cycling, wheeling, and exploring the outdoors. The NCN currently covers 12,653 miles, with 41% of this classed as traffic-free, for example, away from roads. But we have some big plans about improving this for the future. This interactive map on the right shows the NCN as it stands today, with the orange routes as traffic-free and the blue routes as on-road. We understand that the benefits of walking, cycling, wheeling, and healthy places aren't experienced in the same way by everyone. As a result, we prioritize work with people and in places that challenge this. We do a lot of work on the ground with communities to ensure that people with different voices are recognized and that these voices are acted upon. We are a network of 650 employees, 3,000 volunteers, and 30,000 supporters. Spanning the UK, we all work together to make change happen. Our vision is a society where the way we travel creates healthier places and happier lives for everyone. And we have two strategic priorities to translate our vision into a reality. These are livable cities and towns for everyone and paths for everyone. And naturally, tech plays a major part in achieving these. And I'm going to talk a little bit about these now. So what does livable cities and towns for everyone mean? In a nutshell, livable cities and towns for everyone means working alongside communities to design places around people, not cars. At Sustrans, we help create places that connect us to each other and what we need, where everyone can thrive without having to use a car. So this image on the right is from the Dreadnought Pocket Place project. The Transport Scotland funded Pocket Places programme is an opportunity for local communities to shape their neighbourhood and take a lead in making their local area a better place to walk, cycle and wheel. In this case, and because of COVID, public consultation was carried out online using tech to draw up surveys and design interactive presentations, to draw proposed designs to engage with the community. And so far, the project has had over 1,600 views. Paths for everyone. The aim of our Paths for Everyone priority is to build and improve on the National Cycle Network to create a truly UK-wide safe network. This interactive map here shows our activation projects where such improvements are targeted and prioritised. These include infrastructure such as new routes, bridges and road crossings. Closer to home, we're in the process of creating a safer road crossing on the other side of Ashton Court along the Festival Way. This map is on our website, and you can find out more about each priority project by clicking on the map. And in the pop-up, it gives you more information about what's going on and where. As you can see, it's very busy at the moment. There's a lot to get on with. So how does all of this link in with the work that I do? I am a GIS officer, and for those of you that don't know, GIS stands for Geographic Information System. By definition, a GIS is a framework for gathering, managing, and analysing data. GIS is used in a huge number of organisations across the globe, including the NHS, many local authorities, and charities such as Sustrans. Making maps is a key feature of GIS and generally what it is known for. Maps help communicate, perform analyses, share information, and solve complex problems. Fundamentally, GIS is very powerful and useful. So how does tech, particularly GIS, help us achieve our strategic priorities at Sustrans? I'm going to talk through some examples of how we've used GIS to achieve our priorities, mainly through acquiring the ArcGIS software about a year ago, and we've used this suite of tools to achieve our aims. It's a cloud-based GIS which saves us loads of storage space and allows real-time edits across the whole of the UK. It's really revolutionized the way we work and made the transition to online and remote working a lot easier. It also means that we've got far more access to GIS. We've got nearly 400 people out of our 650 employees using the system, which is incredible. We also use other software, and I couldn't resist but include this complicated screenshot of a process I've designed. This is called FME, and it's an amazing piece of software for processing data. So my first example, for livable cities and towns for everyone, is the Pedal Perks Cycle Loyalty Scheme in Northern Ireland. This is to encourage people to cycle to local shops and cafes. People who cycle to these cafes can claim discounts or special deals. I helped create this map from a spreadsheet of data about participating cafes, and it's now accessible via our website to visualize where the cafes are and help people plan routes. The map will also hopefully inspire more cafes to join the scheme and see if they lack any in their area. You can click on the points as before, and you can find out more about the scheme, where it is, and what's going on. I believe this is a really simple use of tech, but a really effective means of communication. Another example under the Livable Cities and Towns priority is the Southport Livable Neighbourhood project. Livable neighbourhoods are healthier, happier, cleaner places to live, learn, work, and play. This is a community-driven project that uses web-based tech to engage with locals. And as Andy was saying, technology is nothing without the community. So on the right, we have an ArcGIS hub, which is essentially a website. Within this, there is an interactive map for locals to add points for things that they do and don't like about their neighbourhood. And there's also a survey to fill in here as well. There's also information about the project and information about events. It's really user-friendly and really accessible. And we'll be able to use the data from this to inform how we progress with the neighbourhood development. So under our Paths for Everyone priority, we improve on focusing our work on improving the NCN, and obviously a key part of this is signage. We've developed this signage removal survey tool for our volunteers. We have an incredibly dedicated and extensive volunteer network who help maintain the NCN. This is a web-based survey and can be used on a mobile. It's very straightforward, but it's really vital in its results. So what you can do is you can go to your location. So there I am, and then you can fill in the form, and this will send off an automated email to our signage team defining exactly what type of signs and how many you need. So it's really, really effective and really useful. It's the first time we've really had the facilities to engage with volunteers in such a way as well, so it's really exciting, and we are piloting the scheme in the Southwest. So I've given a lot of examples of how we help people, but we are a sustainable transport charity, so environmentalism is at the core of what we do. I've recently been working with our in-house ecologist to develop this tool, which helps identify if there are any conservation areas around any potential new route sites. This tool is vital for the very early stages of route planning, particularly as we are all in the throes of a climate emergency and need to do our bit. So as you can see, we've got different layers that have, whether it's a SSSI, an area of outstanding natural beauty. We've also got the National Cycle Network and Sustrans and RPL owned properties. So it's a really, really useful tool. We've also been working hard in response to COVID. Back in April, I worked with the brand and marketing team on a project we called Cycles for Key Workers. This map shows cycle offers and discounts to all key workers and NHS staff across the UK, as well as all bike shops that have stayed open during the pandemic. Around 40% of the UK workforce are classed as key workers, and bicycle shops were among the few retailers that could remain open during the first lockdown. The complicated process that I showed you a screenshot of before is how this map is created. So it may look pretty and simple, but it's quite a fiddle. So what you can do is you can click on the points again, and it will give you information about the shop and the discounts on offer, and how you can contact them. In light of this work, I was made a GIS hero by Esri, which is very exciting. And my final example is the Space to Move map that we have developed. You may have noticed that local authorities have been making changes to our streets in response to COVID-19. These changes are designed to make it easier for people to walk, wheel and cycle safely while socially distanced. There are loads of examples across Bristol and Bath. The Space to Move map has all of these schemes and gives you the opportunity to feed back on them via a survey. So I'd encourage you to do so if you haven't already come across this tool. As you can see, we've had over 7,000 responses on 1,300 schemes across the UK. Again, tech has been absolutely fundamental to this project and provides local authorities vital information from the people that live there. So this is the map that you can find on the website, and on the right is an interactive dashboard. It also has live updates. So if someone were to fill in a survey right now, we would see this number increase, which is pretty cool. So there we have it. That was a whistle-stop tour of how we use tech at Sustrans. It was very focused on GIS because that's what I do, but the organisation also uses a lot of other means of using tech. All of the examples I've given are currently in circulation, so please take a look at the Sustrans website for any more information, or feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you very much for listening.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Flora. That was fantastic. So yeah, round of applause and possibly a bike emoji for Flora on that. Yeah, really great. I love the fact that you can potentially build a route around a cafe. That really that's music to my ears. So yeah, please keep up the good work. I'm sure everyone uses the cycle paths for cycling, running, walking, pushing a pram if you're in my case. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on obviously everything you're doing and support it best we can. Got some questions in, so I think if we invite both Pete and Andy back in, if we can do that. Pete, Andy as well. Great stuff. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think we started with yourself, Andy. I know you've been very busy answering questions in the Ask a Question section, which is fantastic. So if you did ask Andy a question, you can have a look there. I'm going to pick out two that you have answered. I'll ask you one first, and then we'll kind of go round as we were. So just one question from Dominic, who's asked some really good questions. At the moment, are you only running in Bristol? What do you think? When do you think you may be expanding to Bath? Looks like a really solid model.
Yeah, thank you for the comment and all the questions actually. So Bristol's important because I guess it's a really solid community, and we're using it because it's directionally focused on sustainability and driving the change, but we've got an awful lot to learn. So the next sort of 4 months, we've been there 2 months, we've built a great head of steam now with lots of everyone's engaged, but we're using the next 4 months to really get our super grounding on what bits work, what bits we need to improve, how the technology is or isn't working to support the community. Once that's done, starting in February next year, we've got four more new locations we're adding next year. We've got a list of about 20, but we're not fully decided yet because obviously we're still learning. Now, Bath is a really good example of actually an outreach that could just spill over because it's part of that southwest area, and it may be really sensible for us to move that way. But by the same token, you know, Glasgow is really interesting, Manchester really interesting, Brighton, another really green kind of led kind of area that is really wanting to support more sustainable kind of sharing concepts eventually. So we've got a big ambitious plan and rollout, but we've got a very considered way to do it. And it's just important that we listen hard and learn right now and adapt rather than try and grow everything so quickly that we get it all wrong. But yeah, I mean, Bath, I was at university in Bath myself. I love the city. I think it would work really well there.
Fantastic. No, that's really good. I know there's probably the same challenges with parking there as there is in Bristol, probably more so.
Parking rubbish, so reducing cars would be great. Thank you.
There you go. Great stuff. Next one for yourself, Pete. Have you seen a recent uptake in the number of green tech startups within your hub?
I think it comes and goes. There's been an interesting flurry about a year ago of people zeroing in on on consumers being able to measure their carbon footprint and opening up the choices for consumers to do different things. So we suddenly had a bit of spike. Actually, the theme of our last networking event was measuring sustainability. So yeah, we certainly had a number of companies around that suddenly arrive. So it's interesting how these things happen. I wouldn't say, I mean, we were thinking after COVID and all the economic impacts, one of the things that tends to generate startups is people having time on their hands and thinking about new things. And I think for our last entrepreneurs program last month, we saw for the first time a number of people who'd been, sadly been made redundant, but had taken the opportunity to look at new things and focus on new opportunities. And quite a lot of them are seeing, that the passion to move the world on is widespread, and people want to feel they're doing something about that. So we've certainly seen some impact there as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. I hope it continues. One for yourself, Flora. Do you envisage having a usable map for commuting pathways similar to Google available on mobile? It's always a struggle finding routes when out and about. That's from Rich New.
So we have the National Local Network available through Ordnance Survey on their online maps, but unfortunately we don't really have any in-house developers to convert the data into a sort of app-friendly map, mobile-friendly format. So at this stage, it's a no, unfortunately. But I do know that OpenStreetMap has some of our data. And yeah, I would recommend using the Ordnance Survey as well, because they get a fortnightly update from us as well.
Fantastic, thank you for that. There was a really good question on autonomous vehicles for you, Andy, which I think would be good to talk about. I'm just trying to find that in the comments, actually. Bear with me. Can you see it?
Yeah, no, he's talking about whether we would feature autonomous vehicles on our platform, I think,
yeah,
is the overview. I mean, the very simple answer is yes. I mean, there's a lot that we don't know about autonomous vehicles right now, and the biggest question that I think needs to be answered is who's going to own them. So do I own an autonomous vehicle, just I don't drive it? Do the fleet operators own it, or anything in between? And what's important is we don't really know much about the infrastructure and the cost of these vehicles, and that will probably lead us to who is going to own these cars. But no matter who owns them, as a consumer wanting access to a car, whether you want to drive it or you want it to be driven by a machine, you want a place to access it, and you want to trust a brand that is part of a community that allows you to access cars either driven or otherwise. And that's what we want Karshare to be. So everything will be on there from a vehicle perspective. Autonomous or otherwise, but we're just not clear on where autonomy sits in I guess the next 5 years. And there's a big blocker at the moment about liabilities. If autonomous cars, God forbid, ploughed through a bus queue, there's a big question about who is liable. Is it the tech? Is it the machine driving it? Is it the response times of the tech in the machines? Is it the people? Is it the sensors on the front of the bumpers? There's so much we don't really understand. It's such a great idea, and it's such an awesome, but there's such a lot still to get through. But no matter what, we fully support it. And I mean, in the same vein, we fully support electric vehicles, and that's probably closer to our grasp right now.
Yeah.
So, just understand that when you have an electric vehicle on the platform, we'll start to give enhanced earnings for owners who have EVs, because that's really what we're driving at here. Shared vehicles that are greener and cleaner, sorry. And if they become autonomous as well, then fantastic.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that. Great stuff. So one for Pete. What are the main challenges green and sustainable startups face, and are they different from non-green startups?
I think all startups face numerous serendipitous challenges, as I pointed out. I think one of the things with green startups is kind of where they sit. Are they profit making, or are they really more altruistic in their intent? There is a growing set of investors and supporters of impact companies, impact investors, basically supporting a company for social impact. A lot of people feel very strongly they want to change things. I think coming up with a business model that is sustainable, and financially sustainable, allows you to carry on making a difference is typically one of the hardest things, because that's not necessarily where people came from. The power of social enterprise is that you're making enough money, you can keep going, you can keep making the difference. I think that's that's the hard bit, because that sometimes cuts across, what people are trying, really where people started from and why they wanted to make a difference. So that's an area we handle. We have a number of charities and a number of social enterprises as well as for-profit companies. We found ways to handle everybody and hopefully offer value to everybody. But I think that dividing line, am I here to make money? I'm here to make money, but I'm here to make enough money that I can keep going, making a difference. That's the balance.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. And a final question. So for Flora, I'm not aware of this project, but are you going to do any work with Slowways project?
So I actually just saw that question and had a little Google, because I had, well, not Google, Ecologi.
Very good.
I had heard of it myself, but it sounds like it would slot in really nicely with our livable cities and towns and Paths for Everyone priorities. So definitely something to look into. And yeah, I sort of hope I got it across that we're a cycling charity, but we are definitely for everyone. We want to kind of like remove that common misconception that cyclists all have to be on really fancy, expensive bikes and covered in lycra, because you don't. So yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
No, great stuff. Well, yeah, there's lots more questions, and as I say, we will put those to the speakers and pop the responses into the meetup group hopefully later today. But thank you very much, all of you, for your input and telling us all about the organisations you work for. They're absolutely brilliant, and the contribution is massive. So thanks very much. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on all your various sort of projects, and I'll hand back to Hannah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Wow. I don't know about you lot, but like after listening to all 5 speakers talking about all the different things they're doing, my brain is just firing in all these different directions about all the incredible stuff I've just heard about from you. And I feel so inspired by what everyone's doing. It gives me real hope for the future to hear about all these different approaches we have, and that they're all happening here within our own region, here in the Southwest. It's just, wow, it's mind-blowing, isn't it? I'm stoked, so pleased to have learnt what I've learnt today from you all. So massive thank you to all of our speakers, and to Mike. Mike has had the unenviable task of managing our 5 speakers, of walking each of them through our platform and liaising with them. So we also owe a massive round of applause for Mike for all the effort that he's put in today, well, over the last few weeks as well. So if you're still with us, we'd love some more emojis on the comments feed, and just, yeah, thank you to everyone for what you shared with us today. So I'm just going to close out the event and signpost you all to a few interesting bits and bobs, or we think are interesting bits and bobs that are going on. I won't take long, I promise I'll rattle through this really quickly. So we always like to remind everyone that these events are community-driven events. So us organisers, we are really interested in bringing the community of people together who are trying to make a difference on climate change. And, you know, the conversations and the collaboration doesn't stop here, it carries on. So here's some really awesome events that you might be interested in. First up, we need to give a shout out to the Future Economy Network. If you haven't heard of the Future Economy Network and you're interested in this sort of stuff, definitely check them out. They've been a massive supporter of us and what we've been trying to achieve here with Green Tech Southwest, so a big thank you to them. I've picked out a couple of events that looked interesting on their site, but there's plenty more, so check them out. Pete mentioned the STBA. It's a tricky one to say that. Sustainable Technologies Business Acceleration Hub. I find easier to say than STBA. Don't know, that's just me. Anyway, Pete mentioned this event already. This is their upcoming networking event that you might be interested in attending. Elliot also mentioned this, the Festival of Climate Action that Ecologi are running between the 17th and 18th of November. So definitely worth checking that out and spreading the word. For those of you based in Bristol, I'm a very big fan of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership. This is a partnership that arose out of the 2015 European Green Capital Award that Bristol had. And there are monthly networking events that bring together people within the city who are doing stuff around sustainability. So you'll meet people planting trees or working on livable neighbourhoods, or you'll meet people like me who are more interested in tech. It's a real broad range of people and always very, very inspiring. I never fail to come away from those events feeling really, really buoyed by everything that this city is doing. It's really quite incredible. So I would definitely recommend you check those events out. So as I mentioned, this is very much a community. We're trying our best here to bring people together to cross-pollinate and to collaborate so that we can solve the climate crisis that we have faster. So I wanted just to mention a few ways of staying in touch or engaging with the community today. So one of the other organisations that supports us, Green Tech Southwest, is the Climate Action Tech community. I've actually got on the slide that it's a global community of over 2,600 tech sector workers. I think it might actually be 3,000 now. It's growing all the time. It's a great community of people. We have a Bristol Slack channel, so we can talk about Bristol related initiatives in there, and they also have a really good weekly newsletter. So if you're interested in sort of hanging out with like-minded people, definitely check out Climate Action Tech. I hang out there a lot. Also, you know, we love to hear from our members. It's great when we get feedback, so please don't be shy. We want to make these events the best they can be. We also want to make them the most diverse and inclusive they can be, and we're trying to think of diversity and inclusion in the widest realm possible. So if you have any thoughts or anything you'd like to share with us, you can tell us on Meetup, or you can email us at greentechsouthsw@gmail.com. You heard about Ecologi today. So a little while ago, I think over the summer, we set up our own forest for Green Tech Southwest using Ecologi. We have about 5,000 trees, 500 odd trees. And we say to people, if you enjoyed today's session and, you know, if we maybe met face to face and you'd feel like you might want to buy us a coffee or a pint or something like that to say thank you, then at the moment, because meeting face to face is obviously not going to happen for a while, you can donate us some trees instead. And people have been donating us trees, and it really fills our hearts with joy when people do that, and it means a lot to us to be given trees. So if you feel like it, you can, but honestly, no worries if that's not for you today. And then last but not least, so we have our next speaker-led event, which is on Thursday the 10th of December. It will be an hour-long event, and we have the very fantastic Jerry McGovern coming along. And Jerry is going to be talking about considering the Earth experience in digital design. So Jerry wrote a book called Worldwide Waste, and he's very, very vocal about the negative impacts of digital. And as I mentioned at the beginning of today's event, we want to provide a balanced view of where technology can help, but also for us not to be blind to the downsides that technology can have as well. So Jerry will be coming along and sharing his very considerable knowledge about digital design and how we can design better for the planet. So that's us. Thank you so much again for everyone that's been a part of our community today. So to all of our speakers, and most importantly, to all of you that have come along, asked your questions, engaged with us, and been a part of today. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Go well. We hope to see you again soon. We hope we'll see you on the 10th, and if not, maybe we'll see you in between, or we might hear from you in other ways. But that's us done for the day. Enjoy your afternoons, everybody. We hope you feel as inspired as we do, and see you soon. Cheers, everyone.